Alright, welcome back to another episode of the Wrestling Rant with jago107. Obviously, I am your host, jago107. By the way, if there's any other internet wrestling show that's using the name The Wrestling Rant and they don't want me using it, that's fine, I can change it. Just let me know, personal message or whatever. It was honestly just the first thing I could think of. I was thinking, I'm talking about wrestling and it's a rant, so we'll just call it The Wrestling Rant. But anyways, and also, let me preface this by saying this is just my opinion. If you don't agree, well, that's your opinion. This is mine, and I'm entitled to it. So please don't frickin' leave all kinds of hate in the comments section. I don't care, honestly. If you don't agree with me, that's fine. But I don't care. This is my opinion. In the last episode, we talked about WrestleMania 29 and how it sucked. This episode, we're going to talk about a little something that I don't think gets talked about very often, mainly because most people view it as kind of an afterthought. And that is the women in professional wrestling. The Divas in the WWE and the Knockouts, as they are called in TNA. Can't really bring Ring of Honor into this because I don't even think they have much of a women's division. I think they have maybe 3 or 4 female wrestlers, but that's about it. I don't even think they have a women's title, so I really don't think they can be discussed in this discussion. But anyways, the women in the WWE, their matches are mainly treated as a bathroom break or an excuse for you to go up and make yourself a sandwich or something. I really think it's kind of lame because both in the WWE and TNA, they do have some decent female wrestlers. Now, I think TNA has a few more, but that's mainly because in the WWE you have a what is his exact title? The Vice President of Talent Relations, a Mr. Numbnuts by the name of John Laurinaitis, who is about as good as a talent scout as... I can't even come up with a clever analogy. But he sucks as a talent scout, basically. He doesn't pick up women because he would think that they would be good wrestlers. He picks them up because they're sexy looking. He picks up bikini models. Girls that look pretty. Whether or not they can wrestle, he figures he can find that out later on. He figures they can be taught how to wrestle. It's not necessarily the case. Being able to wrestle is something that you're either good at or you're not. It's not really something that you can learn. Case in point being John Cena. He's been trying to be a frickin' wrestler for 10 years. He still can't get it right. But again, I digress. One prime example of a girl who was found because she was pretty and turned out to be one of the worst frickin' divas we've ever seen is a girl who went by the name of Kelly Kelly. Now, I'm not going to talk about the girl herself. I'm sure in person I'm sure she's a nice girl. And of course she's very pretty, otherwise they wouldn't have frickin' hired her. But she was not all that good as a wrestler. The girl was barely trained. She did a lot of moves that she really wasn't qualified to do. And in all honesty, at one point I thought she was getting better. But apparently not, because she ended up leaving. Don't really know why, and I don't really care, but she's gone now. This girl was spotted at a bikini modeling contest or something, and Laurinaitis spotted her and pretty much just signed her to a contract based on the premise that she was pretty. Yeah. A lot of the girls in the WWE were signed basically because of their looks. Another former diva who was not very good in the ring was a girl by the name of Eve Torres. She sucked. She did a god-awful moonsault that looked like she was going to break her freaking knees when she came down on it. It's a good thing she was wearing knee pads, because otherwise she would have broken her damn knees. She was not very good at wrestling, and she was even worse at talking and cutting promos and trying to act. And she wound up getting chased off, in storyline at least. She was chased off after Caitlyn, the current Divas champion, beat her. So she didn't even bother to go for her rematch. At least I don't think. She just decided to quit. That's okay, hon. We don't... Nothing of value was lost. And again, I'm sure she's a nice person, you know, outside of the ring. But in the ring, she was pretty terrible. Okay, enough talk about former Divas. Let's talk about current. Currently in the WWE, you have Caitlyn, who is the current Divas champion. She's actually not so bad. She's still a little green, but she's learning, and she's getting there, and she's at least showing the initiative that she wants to get better, and she's at least believable in the ring. Being a former bodybuilder, she has enough strength that she can believably lift some of these other girls and make it look believable without, you know, making it look phony, you know. But you've got her. She's not so bad. She's getting better. And then you have AJ Lee, who is probably either the best or second best diva they have right now, as far as talent and cutting promos. Not to mention, on top of that, she's also cute as hell. Just my own personal opinion. The only bad thing is they have her playing a heel right now, and I don't want to hate her. She's so damn cute. It's like that cute girl in high school who, like the girl next door sort of sweetheart, you know? That's what her gimmick basically was before they turned her heel, and they gave her this, she's a crazy slut gimmick is basically what they do with her now. She's had a bunch of relationships with some of the wrestlers, like a bunch of them. And it's kind of getting ridiculous. They're making her look like a total slut. But she's actually a good wrestler, and she can talk, which is good. The other good diva they have is Natalya Neidhart. Now, being part of the Hart family, it's not really much of a surprise that she's a good wrestler. Because, you know, they don't train you if you're not going to be any good. Not only that, you don't get trained and end up being terrible. The only problem with her is right now they have her relegated to escort duty for the Great Khali, who is one of the biggest pieces of crap as far as wrestling. And they also have the two of them together with Hornswoggle, the frickin' midget, who shouldn't even be in the damn company. Other than them, those are your good three. Those are like the only three good ones in the whole company, as far as wrestling skill goes. Other than them, you have the Bella Twins, who just came back after being gone from the company for several months. One of them got a boob job while they were away, by the way. And the other one is apparently having to stuff her bra to still match her sister, because that was their whole gimmick. They're twins, so they look alike, so we're going to use that as a gimmick. They switch during matches, the fresh one comes in while the ref isn't looking, and they, you know, basically cheat to win. That was their gimmick. But for some strange reason, those two are now in a feud with the stupidest frickin' name ever. Let's start with that. The Funkadactyls, Cameron and Naomi, who are the little cheerleader fucking ring valets for Brodus Clay, who's another walking pile of turd. Brodus Clay, little side note, used to be the bodyguard for Snoop Dogg. Has no wrestling skill whatsoever. And they team him up with formerly Prince Albert, formerly known as Lord Tensai, and now they call him, I can't even remember what they call him now. They gave him some stupid hip-hop name, because he's not Lord Tensai anymore. He's all hip-hop and everything. He's an ass clown. He never was all that good. He went to Japan. He actually was decently successful there, but for some reason decided to come back to the WWE. And even though they tried to push his ass to the moon, it didn't work because the fans wouldn't get behind him because he sucks. He's a hoss with no talent and no charisma. He can't talk for shit. This is a guy who's been carried by every tag team partner he's ever had, and he's been a part of several different tag teams. It's pathetic. But anyways, back to the chicks. You've got the Funkadactyls, Cameron and Naomi. Cameron is the girl who, if you remember watching the most recent season of Tough Enough, she was the first person eliminated from that season of Tough Enough. She has no clue what the hell she's doing in that ring. And she has no business being in pro wrestling. Okay? And then you have Naomi, who's been stuck in NXT or FCW, the developmental territory. She sucks. Her only accolade that somehow makes her worthy of being a wrestler is she used to be a gymnast. I think she needs to go back to being a gymnast because she can't talk and she sucks at wrestling. So you've got those two feuding with the Bellas, and while the Bellas are at least passable in the ring, the Funkadactyls are terrible. Terrible. What other girls do we have in the company? Well, you've got Rosa Mendez, but she doesn't wrestle all that often anymore because she plays ring valet for Primo and Epico, the Puerto Rican tag team. Primo you may remember as the brother of Carlito, if you remember Carlito. Yeah. Would have made a good three-man stable if Carlito hadn't gotten fired, but whatever. Anyway, so Rosa plays escort duty for them, and is basically their manager. She doesn't wrestle much, which is probably for the best, because she's not all that great in the ring, but at least she can kind of talk, and she looks good, and she shakes her ass for Primo and Epico, and it, at least works, what other girls they got? Oksana. Another girl who's terrible in the ring. And she can hardly even speak English, so her mic skills are shit. And again, I'm sure most of these girls are nice people. I'm not dissing them as a person, but in the ring is what we're going on here. And in the ring, most of these girls suck. And when we're talking about wrestling, that's all that really matters. You might be a good person, but if your wrestling skills suck, you need to find a different job. Now there's Oksana, she's not very good. Trying to think of the other ones that are on the main roster right now. Can't really think of any others. Layla. And the reason why I barely even thought of her is because she's so forgettable and bland that there's hardly any point in mentioning her. She's not very good in the ring, she's not very good on the mic, and she's not all that attractive, at least in my opinion. Some people seem to like her. I don't know why, but that's just my opinion. Sorry, I don't like her. I still don't like her after being associated with that piece of shit Michelle McCool. who, by the way, is now married to The Undertaker, and being married to The Undertaker is the only reason that bitch got a push in the company in the first place. So, thanks again, Mark, for pushing that bitch. She was a hack in the ring and had no promo skills. And they were also part of that god-awful storyline making fun of Mickie James, the Piggy James bullshit. That was atrocious. We'll get to Mickie James in a second because she's actually in TNA right now. But as far as the divas on the main roster in the WWE, I think that's all of them. However, there's a few to talk about that are in their developmental territory, which is NXT. You have at least one who's actually pretty good, and her name is Paige, or at least that's the name they've given her for right now. She's actually pretty good, both in the ring and on the mic. They've given her this gimmick where she likes to scream a lot. This primal scream. And she also calls herself the anti-diva. She doesn't want to be known as a diva. She comes from a very proud British wrestling family. I think her mother and father were both somewhat big stars in the UK. But she comes from that tradition, and she wants to be known as being a wrestler, not a freaking diva. And, that's good, because the divas are treated like Barbie dolls. A woman wrestler needs to be more than just a pretty face, okay? Being pretty is a bonus. It's the wrestling talent and promo skills that should actually get you the damn job, alright? Paige has both. Some of the other girls in NXT, you have this one girl named Summer Rae. Haven't really seen all that much of her in the ring, which is mainly because she started out as the ring announcer in FCW, and then they made her the general manager of FCW after Maxine left, which I don't know how being ring announcer qualifies you to become the general manager, but whatever. So yeah, she goes from ring announcer to general manager. Hardly ever wrestling, by the way. And now on NXT, she's been wrestling. And I believe she's actually in a feud with Paige. But I haven't really seen all that much from her, at least in the ring. She doesn't seem all that good at talking. And from what I've seen, not all that good at wrestling either. But apparently she's really good at running away, because that's all she can do in her feud with Paige. But honestly, I can't blame the girl. Paige can be kind of scary when she starts screaming. Plus, she's an actual trained wrestler, so that might be kind of scary too. I'm a Barbie doll. I don't want to get my ass kicked by Paige. Yeah, good. Run. Run far away and don't come back. Other girls in NXT, you have a girl named Audrey Marie, who is basically the new Mickie James. She's from Texas, so she's got that southern kind of country girl thing to her. She doesn't really seem all that good, though, at promos or in the ring. Although, to be fair, I haven't seen a whole lot of her. I've seen a few matches, but nothing really all that big or substantial. And she right now is in a feud with a girl named Sasha Banks, who is apparently friends with Paige. That's in the storyline, at least. Sasha, haven't really seen all that much from her. She seems to be kind of young and green, from what I've been able to see. But, again, not really enough to judge so much. But, there's that. Other than those four in NXT, there's this one chick who's supposed to be from Australia, and she does this really stupid-looking dance when she's coming down to the ring. I don't know what the gimmick is supposed to be. I don't remember hearing anything about Australians being really bad dancers, but I know the WWE likes to play to stereotypes a lot. I don't know where this idea came from, but whatever. I don't even remember her name, so I honestly probably couldn't judge much about her. But I know she's there. And I honestly can't think of any other chicks in the WWE, even in the NXT. So let's move on to TNA. TNA, you have a lot of, well, at least a couple of girls who came from the WWE. Both Mickie James and Tara, formerly Victoria. Mickie James has always been a pretty solid in-ring competitor, and she's also fairly good at cutting promos. But she is starting to get old, or older, whatever. So, I don't know, if I was booking TNA, I would probably use her as like the veteran of the Knockouts division who, puts people over on occasion to give them a rub, but other than that, just kind of is basically there to teach the new girls a lesson, She's, like I said, she's decent in the ring, decent on the mic. Really don't have any complaints with her other than her ring music, which is god-awful, and it's one of the reasons why she was fired from the WWE. Apparently, in the WWE, you're not really allowed to pursue outside interests. So, Mickie James wanted to pursue a career in country music. And I hate country music. So her music, to me, it's awful. And it's her singing, so... Or at least it's somewhat her singing. I also mentioned Victoria, or now known as Tara. To be honest, Tara, in my opinion, has never been all that great. In ring or at promos. Not only that, but she's like 40-something. She's way older than any of the other girls. And she's got a bad knee, at least one bad knee. It might be two. So... really think that's the reason why they fired her in the WWE, is like, yeah, she's too old and never was all that good, and she's got two bum knees, or at least one. And she's another girl that likes to do a moonsault, banging the fuck out of her knees when she comes down. You girls really need to learn how to do moonsaults, Ask HBK if he'll teach you, I'm sure there's plenty of guys you could ask to show you how to do this shit properly without wrecking your knees. Speaking of knees, I actually forgot a girl in the WWE. And again, this is because the girl is so forgettable, she's basically irrelevant. And her name is Tamina Snuka. Now, you old school folks might recognize the last name of Snuka. Yes, she is the daughter of Hall of Famer Jimmy Snuka. And... she's so unoriginal, she can't even come up with her own finisher. She uses the Superfly Splash as her finisher. And again, she comes down right on her freaking knees, and it looks like she's gonna break her damn knees every time she does it. Other than that, her character is completely forgettable. She's your typical Samoan. Really terrible on the mic, not all that good in the ring either. Really no point in keeping her. Back to TNA. Other than Mickie James and Tara, you have Gail Kim, who is another former WWE dropout, essentially. Gail got her start in the WWE, and in her frickin' first match became women's champion, back when they still had the women's title. Yeah. She won it in a freaking battle royal, which just shows you how terrible that was. But at least she's not so bad in the ring. And she's not so bad at cutting promos either. So, she's actually not bad. But yeah. So you've got Gail. And then there's Madison Rayne, who is decent in the ring. And when it comes to cutting a regular promo, can be okay. But she gets completely annoying when she starts screaming. It is like nails on a goddamn chalkboard. And speaking of nails on a chalkboard, there's another woman that I should talk about in the WWE. Can't really call her a diva because she doesn't wrestle. Vicky Guerrero, the current managing supervisor of Raw. Speaking of bitches with a voice like a nails on a chalkboard, it's atrocious. It really is. And despite her not being a trained wrestler, they've actually put her in a couple of matches where she has just looked god-awful. I mean, hell, this is coming from the same company that put Snooki, of all people, in a wrestling match, and Snooki out-wrestled Vicky Guerrero, or at least she would have if Vicky Guerrero would have been in the damn match. This is terrible. Back to TNA. Sorry for all the sidetracking. Madison Rayne, Gail Kim. And then you have Velvet Sky, who is, I believe right now, their current Knockouts champion. Velvet is another one who's decent. Good-looking girl. Decent in the ring. Decent at promos. Don't really have any problems. Trying to think of any other girls in TNA. There's not a whole lot left because a few of them actually left. They had Sarita and Rosita, who were supposed to be cousins. Two Latin chicks. Actually, I think Rosita might still be with the company. I'm not sure. She seemed okay. Sarita wasn't all that great, though. And the main reason why TNA can't keep too many women is because they have a long history of mistreating their chicks. Daphne, who was with them for a while, wound up suing them after being injured in a match, taking a bump that she was uncomfortable with taking in the first place. And she ended up suing them. I believe they settled out of court and she got a big settlement. But point is, they didn't want to pay for her medical bills. And that's the whole problem. I mean, somebody gets hurt on your watch, you're kind of responsible. So you need to pay for the medical bills. This is not just a problem with the Knockouts. They do this to frickin' everybody, unless their name is Jeff Hardy or Sting or any of the big name people in TNA. If you're not a big name, TNA won't pay for shit. So, big problem with them. Another former knockout who wound up going to greener pastures, Angelina Love, who used to be the other half of the beautiful people with Velvet Sky, she decided to go to, I believe it was a promotion called Shine, and I believe they're a solely female promotion, kind of like Shimmer or, well, honestly, I think those are the only two I can think of that are solely women's wrestling. But she was actually pretty good too, and it's a shame that she left because I thought her and Velvet made a great team. And, whatever. Trying to think of any other girls in TNA that actually wrestle, at least. They used to have Christy Hemme, who was another dropout from the WWE. She was never really all that good in the ring. She was at least decent on the mic, but now they have her ring announcing, and she's terrible at it. So, really don't know why they do this. The only other two women in the company who you actually see, neither one of them wrestles. Or no, wait, there's one other that I should talk about. Taryn Terrell, formerly Tiffany from the WWE. This girl never was that good in the ring to begin with. She was okay at talking. So they stuck her as the general manager of the ECW brand back before they sunk it. And then after a domestic dispute with her and her then husband Drew McIntyre, she was fired from the company and months later wound up in TNA, where they came across the stroke of genius of putting her as the referee for the Knockouts division. This was a stroke of brilliance because at the time they were doing this god-awful storyline where Madison Rayne was having a affair with Earl Hebner, who was the referee. And this storyline was terrible. You have a storyline where a woman who's in her late 20s, early 30s is having an affair with a man who's in his 50s or 60s. And Earl Hebner's another dropout from the WWE. He got fired after selling some of their merchandise without their permission and basically just pocketing the cash. So him and his brother both got fired. Anyways, they had this terrible storyline where Earl is using his authority as the, head referee, basically. He's giving wins to Madison Rayne even when she's getting beat. There were situations where her shoulders were clearly being pinned to the mat, and Earl gives her the match anyways just because they were fucking. This was a god-awful storyline, and the people who came up with it should be ashamed of it. But in a stroke of brilliance, they managed to end this storyline by finally bringing in Taryn Terrell to be the new referee for the Knockouts division. And this actually is something I've been wanting to see for a while. Having a female referee for the women's matches just makes so much more sense. So yeah, they euthanized that terrible storyline by having her be the new referee. But now all of a sudden, apparently thanks to Gail Kim within the storyline, Taryn was costed her job as the referee and is now wrestling again. So the thing she's not even all that good at, they're having her go and do now. Stupid. Bitching aside. The only other two women in the company that I can think of right now, neither one of them wrestles. But you have Brooke Hogan, yes, the daughter of friggin' Hulk Hogan. She can't wrestle, she can't talk. She's supposed to be the vice president in charge of the Knockouts division, but that storyline was pretty much dropped a couple of months ago when she got involved with Bully Ray. Yeah, did I mention that? She got married to Bully Ray in the storyline, and this was before he revealed that he was the head dude for the Aces and Eights. So, yeah. Fucking awful. She can't talk, she can't wrestle. There's no point in her being in the company whatsoever. It's Hulk Hogan giving his daughter a job because her music career failed, because he fucked it up for her. And the only other woman in the company who's worth talking about is SoCal Val, who has been the ring valet. She sits at ringside, and when dudes come out and they have ring entrance attire, like a jacket or something like that, they'll hand it to her and she'll hold it for them until the end of the match. So she plays ring valet. She also does some ring announcing on their B show, which is known as Explosion, which I don't even think airs in the USA because they're retarded, and even though the show is better than Impact most of the time. She does some ring announcing. She does a lot of backstage interviews, specifically before pay-per-views. She'll interview the people who are getting ready for matches, and she's actually fairly decent at that. I don't know why they don't have her do that more often, but there you go. Don't really think there's any other women to talk about in the WWE or TNA. I can't think of any other knockouts in TNA. Can't think of any other divas in the WWE. But yeah, I don't think people talk about this enough, and it's because most of the time it's basically an afterthought. Yeah, we have chicks wrestling, but it's basically just eye candy for the most part. And it's really kind of a deplorable mindset to have, because some of these girls can actually put on a good match. You just have to pair them up properly and not put them in the ring with no talent bimbos. You know, the frickin' Funkadactyls. Both of them. Talentless, personality, black holes. They're awful. They have no business being in wrestling. They both suck. It's awful a lot of the times. There was supposed to be a Divas title match between Caitlyn and AJ at WrestleMania. It never actually got announced, and it never happened. Apparently, they're going to book that for another pay-per-view, because really, that's probably your only good Divas match that could possibly happen right now. Like I said, Caitlyn's decent, and AJ's pretty good, but... And the whole storyline building between this is these two used to be best friends. And now they don't like each other because AJ went all crazy. So yeah, apparently they're gonna build up to this match at a later pay-per-view, I guess, and get to that. I mentioned a match that was scrapped for WrestleMania, and that was an 8-person intergender tag team match between the Bella Twins and their tag team partners, Team Rhodes Scholars, who's Cody Rhodes and Damian Sandow. And those four were going to go against the Funkadactyls, and of course their man Brodus Clay and his partner, whatever his new hip-hop name is, Lord Tensai, Fat Albert, dumb shit bald guy with no talent or charisma. Yeah, that match was supposed to happen. It didn't happen. And thank God for that, because it was probably going to be god-awful. Cody Rhodes is not all that good. Damian Sandow's actually fairly decent. The Bellas are passable as divas. But the Funkadactyls are terrible. So is Brodus Clay and A-Train, Prince Albert, whatever the hell you want to call him. So you've got Damian Sandow and the Bellas as pretty much the only thing good in this match. You know what? I'll give Rhodes a little bit of credit. He's better than frickin' Brodus Clay or A-Train. You know, at least the guy can wrestle, but he's not all that great. He doesn't have that much charisma, he doesn't have all that much personality, and he's part of the Rhodes family. And as far as I'm concerned, the Rhodes family hasn't done shit in the WWE. Dusty Rhodes, the American Dream, never held a single damn title in the WWE. He may have been AWA champion, he may have been NWA champion. That don't mean shit in the WWE. And his gimmick was god-awful in his ugly polka dot onesie, shaking his fat ass with his ugly-ass ring valet. Yeah, I've actually seen some of that shit. Nightmarish. And Cody's older brother, Goldust, all he's ever done was been Intercontinental Champion and Tag Team Champion, and Cody's done both of those things. Not really all that great, honestly. Honestly, I think Goldust is the best of the bunch, but that's just me. Anyways, the Divas could really use to be treated a lot better. We need to find some new ones, because a lot of the girls on the Divas roster, they have no talent, no charisma, and they should not be trying to work a match. You have Paige down in NXT, who's totally ready to be brought up. From what I've heard, a lot of people from NXT, or at least a few people from NXT, are supposed to be brought up sometime now that WrestleMania is out of the way. Triple H, who is now in charge of this shit, didn't want to bring anybody new up before WrestleMania. You might as well now, it's out of the way and it was terrible. Bring up Paige. Please have her start knocking some heads in the frickin' Divas division. She's probably one of the only good divas you've got down in NXT. Haven't really heard about them signing any other new girls. The Knockouts division in TNA. Haven't seen much of it recently. Like I said, I haven't watched in months because Jeff Hardy was frickin' champion for a while, and I didn't want to watch with him being champion because I fucking hate his guts. And now they dropped the title to frickin' Bully Ray, who's another worthless pantload. Whatever. Don't really know how the Knockouts division is going. Probably not much better than the Divas division based on how crappy the booking is in TNA. But, at least they have some more talent. You've got Velvet, you've got Gail Kim, you've got Madison, you've got Mickie James. I think Rosita is still there, I'm not sure. They had Winter, who was... I can't remember her name. Katie Burchill. If you remember her, she was supposed to be Paul Burchill's sister in the WWE. That gimmick went completely out the window. She came to TNA and was Winter. This weird gothic vampire, not even a vampire, but she was acting like one, like a succubus. And she had Angelina Love hypnotized. And so she turned on Velvet. Weird-ass storyline. Weird-ass gimmick. But at least she was a decent wrestler. But apparently she's done with the company, and I can't blame her. Don't know if there's any other girls worth mentioning, but they could really use to get some new talent, or maybe bring back some good old talent. They completely buried a great diva in the WWE, Beth Phoenix. This girl had the talent, she had enough charisma and mic skills to cut a decent promo, but they buried her so bad. And she was supposed to be this tough, strong, really, really strong diva. And she jobbed to so many people, and in the most embarrassing way possible. Practically everyone beat her with a cheap-ass roll-up. It was embarrassing. By the time she left, she was probably so embarrassed she probably couldn't show her face out in public. I feel bad for her. They had her roll over and play dead for more chicks. Oh yeah, and I just remembered another chick in the WWE that is god-awful. One of the worst female wrestlers I've ever seen in my life. And she goes by the name of Alicia Fox. Another crappy wrestler. This girl is so bad, it looks like she's gonna hurt people when she gives them her finishing move. She does this really terrible scissors kick like Booker T used to do, but she can never hit the damn thing right, and when she does hit it, she can't pull it without making it look like she's gonna break the girl's neck. Either that, or it hits them in the back, and it looks like she's gonna break their freaking back. The girl can't wrestle, she's got no personality, and she sucks at promos. She's terrible. So there's another worthless diva in the WWE. I don't know why they have not taken the initiative to find some good female wrestlers and sign them and get the damn Divas division back up to where it used to be. Because I remember back in the day, you had Trish Stratus, you had Lita, you had Ivory, who may have not all been all that good, but at least, she was passable. You had Mickie James back in the day. You had Tara back before she was Tara Bull. You had Jacqueline, who was at least not so bad in the ring. I mean, she wasn't very good at promos or as far as looks go, but at least she could put on a decent match if you put her with the right person. But you had those chicks. You had Molly Holly. Fuck's sake, I could go on. The Divas division used to be decent. Nowadays, it's just god-awful. And the Knockouts division in TNA isn't much better. So, bottom line, these chicks need to be trained better so they can put on good matches. You need to have them work on their freaking mic skills so they can cut promos. Because these girls, they hardly ever get promos. They hardly ever get a time to talk, to build their character. There's hardly any character building or anything with these girls. It's better in TNA because at least they give them time to talk, but in the WWE, there's nothing. They hardly ever talk. You get a couple of backstage brawl segments, like they had one just recently with Caitlyn and AJ, where Caitlyn was talking to Kane and Daniel Bryan in the locker room, I think, and AJ kind of creeped up from behind and overheard what Caitlyn was saying about her, and so they started fighting, and then AJ throws Caitlyn headfirst into a water fountain that was sitting there in the locker room. It was a vicious looking bump, but it, at least it was a good angle. Let's set these two up for a match. It's probably two of your best divas. Let's set them up, and it's a good storyline. They used to be friends, now they hate each other because AJ went crazy. It's a decent storyline. You've got the Divas title on the line. Let's do something here. Pull the frickin' trigger. Get some new girls. Get some girls with actual talent. And get rid of these talentless bimbos that have no business being in professional wrestling. It's embarrassing. So, guess that's the end of that rant. Yeah. So, that's the end of that. We'll see you later.